Jake Morrow lived on a big piece of land in the middle of Wyoming, far from towns and paved roads. His ranch was old, with a house that creaked in the wind and a barn that leaned a little to the left. The fields were dry most of the year, and the fences needed fixing more than he could keep up with, but it was his. His father had worked this land for 40 years, and when he passed, Jake stayed behind while his brothers moved to cities for jobs and new lives. He didn't mind being alone. At least, that's what he told himself every morning when he woke up to silence. No radio, no phone calls, no voices. Just the soft sound of wind through the trees and the distant call of a meadowlark. He got up before the sun, pulled on his boots, and stepped outside with a cup of black coffee in his hand. The air was cool and clean, and the sky turned from dark blue to light gray as the sun rose behind the hills. His day started the same way every day. He fed the horses, 2 bays named Daisy and Buck, and checked the water troughs to make sure they weren't frozen or cracked. Then he walked the east fence line, mending broken wires with pliers and old wooden posts he kept stacked by the shed. It was hard work, but it kept his hands busy and his mind quiet. Lunch was simple, usually beans from a can heated on the stove, or a sandwich with cheese and ham if he had it. He ate at the small kitchen table, looking out the window at the open field where a few cattle grazed. After eating, he took a short rest on the porch, his hat pulled low over his eyes. Sometimes he dozed off for 10 minutes. Other times he just sat and watched the clouds move. In the afternoon, he worked on repairs, fixing a broken tractor tire, cleaning the gutters, or painting the back door that had started to peel. Once a week, he drove into the nearest town, a small place called Red Creek, to buy supplies. The people there knew him by name, but not much else. He wasn't rude, just quiet. He'd say howdy to the store clerk, buy what he needed, and leave without much talk. Evenings were the longest part of the day. Once the sun went down, the ranch got still. Too still. Jake would eat dinner, often the same beans or a frozen steak, heated on the grill. Then he'd sit in his father's old armchair by the wood stove, reading a book or just staring at the fire. He had a TV, but it only got 3 channels, and he rarely turned it on. The silence didn't scare him. It was just part of life. He had no family close by. His mother had passed when he was young, and his father had died 7 years ago. One of his brothers called once a year around Christmas. The other never called at all. Jake didn't blame them. They had wives, kids, busy lives. He had the ranch, the horses, and the quiet. Sometimes, late at night, he'd think about what his life might have been like if he'd left. Gone to college, found a job in the city, met a woman, started a family. But that ship had sailed. He was 38 now, with sun-lined skin and calloused hands. Women in town had tried to set him up with single friends, but he always said no. He didn't know how to talk to them, didn't know what to say. He felt awkward, out of place. So he stayed, and the ranch stayed, and the days passed like pages, in a book no one was reading. Then, one hot afternoon in late June, everything changed. Jake was on his knees near the south barn, trying to fix a broken pipe that fed water to the cattle pen. Dirt was caked under his fingernails and sweat ran down his temples. The sun beat down hard and the air shimmered over the dry grass. He wiped his forehead with the back of his arm and reached for his water bottle. That's when he heard it. Low rumble, far off at first, like thunder in the distance. But the sky was clear. He stood up slowly, listening. The sound grew louder. Engines. More than one. He walked to the edge of the yard and squinted down the long dirt road that led to his gate. 3 SUVs were coming. Dusty, beat up, but moving. Steady. They kicked up a thick cloud of red earth as they rolled closer. Jake didn't get visitors. Not ever. His heart beat a little faster. He wasn't scared, just confused. He stepped onto the porch and waited. The vehicles stopped one by one near the gate. Doors opened. And then, One after another, 6 women stepped out. They didn't look like ranchers. Not at first glance. They wore jeans and boots, sure, but also bright shirts, sun hats, and backpacks. Some had long hair tied in braids, others had it short and practical. They looked around, stretching their legs, talking to each other in low voices. Jake stayed still, watching. The first to walk toward him was a tall woman with dark brown hair and sharp green eyes. She carried herself like someone used to being in charge. She smiled as she approached, but it was a careful smile, like she wasn't sure how he'd react. "You must be Jake Morrow," she said. "That's me," he said, his voice rough from lack of use. "I'm Liz Carter," she said, holding out her hand. "We're with the Heartland Renewal Project. We've been assigned to your ranch." Jake blinked. "Assigned?" "It's a government program," she explained. "They pair volunteers with landowners in rural areas who could use some help. You were on the list. I didn't sign up. You didn't have to. The program selects people based on need and isolation." Jake looked past her at the other women. One was unloading a toolbox. Another was letting 2 small dogs out of a vehicle. A third was pulling out bags of seed and garden tools. "How long you staying?" he asked. 6 months, Liz said. "We help with repairs, farming, animal care, whatever you need. No cost to you. We just live and work here." Jake rubbed the back of his neck. This was not something he had ever expected. 6 women, living on his ranch, for half a year. "I don't have enough rooms," he said. "We'll make it work," Liz said calmly. "We're used to tight spaces." He looked at the house, the small kitchen, the 2 bedrooms, the tiny bathroom. It wasn't built for 6 extra people. "Why me?" he asked. "Your ranch is struggling," she said. "Fences down, water system failing, underused land, and you're alone. The program looks at more than just land. It looks at people." Jake didn't like the way she said that. It made him feel exposed, like she could see right through him. One of the other women walked over, a redhead with freckles and a gentle face. "Hi, I'm Claire," she said. "I work with animals. I saw your barn on the photos. You've got a sick calf, right?" Jake nodded. "Yeah, hasn't been eating. I've been giving it warm milk and antibiotics, but can I take a look?" she asked. He hesitated, then nodded. "Sure." As Claire walked toward the barn, another woman came up, this one with curly hair and a bright laugh. "I'm Megan," she said. "I'm a nurse. If you've got any health concerns, or if you want to set up a first aid station for nearby ranchers, I can help." Jake just stared. A nurse? On his ranch? A third woman, short and strong with grease on her hands, called out, "Hey, Jake. I'm Tina. I saw your tractor in the file. Mind if I take a look at the engine?" Before he could answer, another voice. This one, calm and deep, said, "I'm Danny. I grew up on a farm in Kansas. I can help with crops, soil, irrigation." And then a fifth woman, holding a sketchbook, smiled shyly. "Nina," she said, "I'm not much with tools, but I paint, and I see beauty here. I'd like to help bring it out." Jake felt like the ground had shifted under his feet. These women weren't just passing through, they were here. They were staying, and they all seemed to know things about his ranch, things he hadn't told anyone. "How do you know so much?" he asked Liz. "We studied your file," she said. "Land records, photos, local reports. We knew what we were walking into." He looked at her, really looked. She was strong, sure of herself, but there was kindness in her eyes. Not pity, just care. "You don't have to like us," she said, "but give us a chance. We're not here to take over. We're here to help." Jake didn't know what to say. He wanted to tell them to leave. This was his place, his quiet, his life. But as he stood there watching them unload tools, set up tents for storage, and greet his dogs like old friends, something in his chest loosened. Claire came out of the barn. The calf's dehydrated and weak, but it'll make it. I'll stay with it tonight. Megan opened a medical kit and started organizing supplies on the porch. Tina was already under the tractor, humming as she worked. Danny walked the field, crouching to feel the soil between her fingers. Nina sat on a stump, sketching the house and the windmill, and Liz stood beside him, waiting. "Supper's ready," Jake said finally. "If you're staying, you're eating." Liz smiled. "We'd be honored." He turned and walked inside, feeling 6 pairs of eyes on his back. The house, so quiet for so long, suddenly felt full. Not just with people, but with something else. Something he hadn't felt in years. Hope. He opened a can of beans, heated it on the stove, and set out 6 extra plates. The loneliest man in Wyoming was about to learn that sometimes help comes in ways you never expect. And sometimes it comes with 6 women, a lot of tools, and hearts full of purpose. The next morning came with a golden light spreading across the ranch. Birds chirped in the trees, and the air was cool and fresh. Jake woke up early, like always, but this time he didn't hear silence. He heard voices. Outside, the women were already moving. Liz and Danny were walking the west field, talking about soil and planting. Tina had the tractor hood open, her hands deep in the engine. Claire was in the barn, gently feeding the sick calf with a bottle. Megan hung a first aid sign on the door of the spare room, and Nina sat on the porch steps drawing the sunrise in her sketchbook. Jake stood in the doorway of his bedroom, rubbing his eyes. It felt strange. Not bad. Just different. Like he had woken up in a dream where his quiet life had been turned upside down. He pulled on his jeans and boots, grabbed his hat, and stepped outside. "Morning, Jake," Liz said, smiling. "Coffee's ready?" On the porch table was a big thermos and 6 mugs. The women had set up a small camp kitchen near the side of the house, with a portable stove and crates for shelves. Megan handed him a mug. "Thanks," he mumbled, taking a sip. It was strong but good. "We were thinking," Danny said, brushing dirt from her hands. "This land could grow more than just grass. We could plant a garden, tomatoes, corn, potatoes, even fruit trees if we fix the irrigation." Jake looked at the dry field. "Never tried. Not sure the soil's good enough?" "It's not perfect," Danny said, "but it's workable. And with compost and drip lines, we can make it better." Tina wiped her hands on a rag. "I can fix the old pump. It's rusty, but the motor's still good. Just needs cleaning and new seals." Jake nodded, slowly. He had thought about fixing the irrigation before, but he never got around to it. Too much work for one man. "You really want to do all this?" he asked. "We're here to help," Claire said, walking over. "And we like working with the land, with animals, with people." Jake didn't know what to say. He wasn't used to people wanting to help him. Most folks left him alone, and he did the same. But these women were different. They didn't act like he was broken or pitiful. They acted like he was part of a team. "All right," he said. "If you want to start, I won't stop you." That day, the ranch came alive in a way Jake hadn't seen in years. Tina and Jake worked on the water pump while Danny and Megan dug test holes in the field to check the soil. Claire stayed with the calf, giving it medicine and warm blankets. Nina painted a small sign that said, "Welcome," and hung it near the gate. By noon, the pump was running. Water trickled through the old metal pipes and into the dry ditches. Danny clapped her hands. "It's working! Slow, but it's moving!" Tina wiped sweat from her brow. "Give it a day. I'll adjust the pressure." Jake watched the water flow. It had been broken for 2 summers. He'd been carrying buckets by hand. Now, with a little work, it was fixed. "You're good at this," he told Tina. She grinned. "I grew up fixing trucks with my dad. Engines don't scare me." After lunch, Liz asked Jake to show her the rest of the property. They walked the fence lines on horseback, Jake on Buck, Liz on Daisy. She asked questions about the land, the cattle, the weather patterns. "You've been doing this alone for a long time?" she said. "Since my dad died," Jake replied. "Must be hard." He shrugged. "It is what it is." They rode in silence for a while. Then Liz said, "You ever think about expanding? Adding something new?" "Like what?" "Maybe farm stays. City folks pay good money to live on a ranch for a weekend. Learn to ride, help with chores, see the stars." Jake laughed. "A little." "Who'd come all the way out here?" "More people than you think," she said. "They want real life, not phones and traffic. They want quiet, fresh air, honest work." Jake looked around. The hills, the sky, the wide open space. He never thought of it as special. It was just home. "Maybe," he said. That evening, they all sat around a fire. Pit, Liz, and Danny built near the house. Megan made a big pot of stew with canned vegetables and beef. Nina played a few songs on her guitar. The stars came out, bright and clear. "This is nice," Megan said, sipping hot tea. "I forgot how beautiful the night sky looks without city lights." "I come from a small town in Missouri," Danny said. "But even there, the stars aren't this bright." Claire leaned back. "I used to work 12-hour shifts in a hospital. No time for sunsets. No time for quiet. I missed it." Tina poked the fire with a stick. "I didn't sign up for this just to help others. I needed it too. I was tired of fixing cars in a garage that only cared about money." Nina smiled. "I paint because it helps me feel peace. Out here, I feel it everywhere." They all looked at Jake. He cleared his throat. "I never thought about why I stayed. I just did. My dad loved this land. I guess I do too." Liz looked at him. "Staying doesn't mean you have to be alone." He didn't answer, but he felt something warm in his chest. The next few weeks passed quickly. The garden was planted. Tomato and corn seeds went into the ground. Danny set up a compost bin and taught Jake how to mix soil. Tina got the tractor running and helped plow a new section for hay. Claire nursed the calf back to health, and it was soon running around the pen with the other young cows. Megan started offering free health checks to nearby ranchers. Word spread, and soon trucks came from miles away. She checked blood pressure, gave flu shots, and even helped an old man fix his hearing aid. Nina painted more signs: fresh eggs, horse rides, quiet place, kind hearts, and hung them around the property. She also painted a large mural on the side of the barn, a sunrise over the hills, with horses running free. Jake found himself talking more, laughing even. He showed Danny how to ride a horse. He helped Tina wire a new light in the barn. He sat with Megan and listened to her stories from the hospital. And every night he joined the others by the fire, sharing simple meals and quiet talk. One afternoon, a storm rolled in fast. Dark clouds covered the sky and wind shook the trees. Rain came down hard, turning the dirt paths into mud. Jake ran to the barn to secure the doors. Liz was already there holding a tarp over a hole in the roof. "Help me!" she shouted over the wind. Jake grabbed the other end, and together they stretched the tarp across. But a strong gust ripped it from their hands. "We need rope!" Jake yelled. They ran back to the shed, soaked and shivering. Tina was there pulling tools from a crate. "Roof's leaking," Jake said. "I'll go up," Tina shouted. "I'm lightest." "No, I'll do it," Jake said. "You don't know." "The knots," Tina argued. "I do." Before he could reply, she grabbed a coil of rope and ran out into the rain. Jake and Liz followed. Tina climbed the ladder fast, rope in hand. The wind howled and rain stung their faces. From the ground, Jake held the ladder steady while Liz passed up the tarp. Tina tied it down tight, using quick, strong knots. Then she slid down, laughing. "Got it!" They all stood in the rain, dripping and breathless. Then slowly, they started to laugh. "We did it!" Megan shouted, running. Over with Claire and Nina. The storm lasted all night, but the barn stayed dry. The next morning, the sun came out, and a rainbow stretched across the sky. Jake stood on the porch watching the women gather near the garden. They were muddy, tired, but smiling. For the first time in years, he didn't feel alone. That evening, as they sat by the fire again, Liz turned to him. "You know," she said, "we're not just here to fix fences or grow food. We're here to remind people that community matters, that no one should have to carry everything alone." Jake looked at her, then at the others. Claire humming, Megan stirring the stew, Danny pointing at the stars, Tina telling a funny story, Nina sketching the firelight on their faces. "I think," he said slowly, "you're doing more than just helping the ranch." Liz smiled. "Maybe. Or maybe the ranch is helping us too." And in that moment, under a sky full of stars, with the sound of laughter in the air, Jake Morrow realized something important. He wasn't just a lonely rancher anymore. He was part of something bigger. And it felt good.